Hello there, my name is Marley and welcome to my channel, Marley Reads a Lot. Today I am filming the intro to my Tarot Readathon vlog. The Tarot Readathon is being put on by a group of 4 booktubers who I'll make sure to link in the description below. And basically it is a tarot card themed readathon. And there's a whole bunch of rules and kind of things to keep in mind for the readathon, as everyone is grouped into a team based on the cards. So there is the team of Pentacles, Wands, Hearts, and Swords, and I decided to be part of the team Swords. And it's a competitive readathon, so all of the books that you complete during the 2 weeks that is going on, which is July 10th to the 24th, you get points for every book that you read. I drew 5 different cards, which represents 5 different books in my July TBR, so I'll definitely link that somewhere so you can go check that out and see me actually dealing the cards and figuring out which books I'm gonna read. But I'll just give a quick overview right now at the top of the video so you know what books I'll be reading throughout this vlog. So the first card we had is the 8 of Cups, and you can see my little cat tarot deck here, which is very cute. And this prompt that was created by the host of the readathon is to read a book that has an absentee love interest or parent. So for this prompt, I decided to go with Better Together by Christine Riccio, aka Poland Bananas Books, here on BookTube. She was the first booktuber I ever watched, and so I've been reading her books as they come out. This is her second one, and it follows these 2 sisters. This is the one, and this is the other on the back. It's a very cool cover concept, but basically it is like the parent trap, where their parents broke up when they were young and one parent took either sister and they grew up apart from each other, which is where the absentee parent comes in. Both of them had an absentee parent, which fits the prompt, but these 2 girls meet up at some sort of retreat and decide to switch lives, or they have some sort of Freaky Friday thing happen where I think they switch bodies, or it forces them to switch lives. And the plot goes on from there. The next card we have is the 7 of Cups, and this prompt is to read a book with multiple love interests. So for this prompt, I had to go with One to Watch by Kate Stayman London. This book was pretty popular, and it is about this girl who is plus sized, and she gets very upset when the Bachelor-esque show that she watches never has any plus sized representation in their show, or any diversity really at all. And she sort of goes off on social media, I believe, and then they end up reaching out to her asking her to be their first plus size bachelorette. And so obviously this is going to have multiple love interests, as there's a bunch of guys vying for her affection, as it is in The Bachelorette. I think this book is going to be really fun. I've heard some bad reviews or mixed reviews, so I'm a little worried about it, but I just want to see for myself. I'm also reading this for a personal book club with my friends, so hopefully we all like it somewhat. Then we got the 4 of Cups, and this prompt was to read a book you've been meaning to get to but you haven't yet. And that is going to be Pumpkin by Julie Murphy. This is about a fat queer boy in high school in a small town, and so you can imagine the sort of ridicule he has gotten growing up. And then our main character, Waylon, ends up creating this videotape as an audition for a drag show, and it gets shared to everyone at the school, and in a way to bully him, they nominate him for prom queen as like a joke, but then he ends up embracing it and actually running. And I'm guessing it's like a very inspirational story. It has to do with some drag elements, as you can kind of see him dressed up there. And I think it'll be a pretty quick feel-good book that I've been meaning to get to, as it came out a couple months ago. The next card is the Chariot. You can see our little cat in his little couch chariot. And the prompt for this one is to read a book that is a Bookstagram or BookTube recommendation. So there were tons of options for this one, but I decided to go with Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Obviously this is a BookTube suggestion, as so many booktubers have been reading it lately. Some of them gave it not so hot reviews, but a lot of people have still been really loving it, just like Taylor Jenkins Reid's other books. So I'm very excited about this. I'm also going to be buddy reading it with Jessie from Plot Twists with Jessie, which I'll try and remember to link her below. And she is also participating in this readathon as well. But this book takes place in the 80s, I believe, during this big party that is being put on by a group of siblings, the Riva siblings. And so I think we're following each of them and the different things that they have going on. And then you know, reading it, that the party is going to end in a disaster. And I think it's sort of like you seeing why it ends in a disaster. And I think there's flashbacks in it as well. I don't know, another kind of period piece from Miss Read. I'm super pumped about it. And the last card I drew was the Ace of Wands, and this prompt is similar to another one I had, but it's to read a book you should have gotten to already. So this one is going to be One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. I should have gotten to this already, as it is one of my highly anticipated books of the year, and basically everyone has been reading it. So I'm a little bit late to the party, but we're following our main character, August, who is this 23-year-old girl living in New York City. She bumps into this other girl who is displaced from time. She's like a time traveler from the 70s who is stuck on this subway train. And I think they end up falling in love and also trying to get the other girl, Jane, back to her time. Another really hyped book that had some mixed reviews, but I'm really hoping I'll be on the end of the people who still really enjoy it. So let's hop into the rest of the vlog and see what I think of these books and how many points I can get for the Swords team. Go Swords! Vlog. So I thought I would do an update on my reading so far. I've started both of these books. I'll just quickly touch on Pumpkin. I have not got far at all in this book. It does seem promising. Waylon, our main character, seems like a character I can relate to, as he is more of an outcast. So yeah, Waylon and his sister Clementine are both characters, or I at least remember Clementine from the previous books in this series, Dumplin' and Pudding. So it's kind of nice to always have these familiar characters in these companion series. Basically, Waylon is, as I said, just sort of like an outcast. He loves his little drag show that he watches, clearly inspired by RuPaul. We've seen hints of a potential love interest, but yeah, I haven't got very far. Now, as for Malibu Rising, guys, I'm loving this book. It's like so addictive. It's so easy to read. I feel like I forgot how good Taylor Jenkins Reid was, and I was sort of, I don't know, I had lowered expectations from this book, just seeing that some people were let down by it. As I may have explained already, it's following the 4 Riva siblings that are all children of Mick Riva, which is a reoccurring character in Taylor Jenkins Reid's books. Unfortunately, I do not remember his previous appearances. Apparently he was quickly in Daisy Jones and the Six, just briefly mentioned, but he actually was one of the husbands in the 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, but I do not remember him in that book. I've just, speaking with Jessie, who I'm buddy reading this with, found out that he was one of her very short-term marriages, so that's probably why I don't really remember. But basically, he's a famous singer and he's definitely promiscuous. We are seeing flashbacks to Mick and June, which is the mother of all of our characters, and we're seeing how they fell in love, stuff like that, and how he was constantly cheating on her, just getting that whole backstory, while we're also seeing the present day, different times throughout the day leading up to the big Riva party that happens every year, hosted by the 4 siblings, Nina, Jay, Hud, and Kit. Now we're at the point in the flashbacks where the kids are getting older, but yeah, it's a little bit different than I thought, because I thought more of the book was going to take place at this elusive party, but most of it is just leading up to it. I'm halfway through and it's all just build up, but it's really making me highly anticipate what is going to happen at this party, because it has to be something big. We do know that there's going to be a fire, as there was talk of how there's so many fires in Malibu, so I think there's going to be a big fire, but what else is going to happen? I need to know. I don't know, I just feel like someone's going to die though, right? I don't know. Other aspects of this book, they love to surf. They're famous surfers. I hate Mick Riva. He's terrible. I love all the siblings, especially Nina. Me and Jessie are liking it so much. We're actually reading past the pages that we discussed to read for each day, so that's a good sign. Good morning. I finished Malibu Rising last night. It's a pretty decent book. I gave it 4 stars I enjoyed it. Taylor Jenkins Reid is a very talented writer. However, it didn't really live up to Daisy Jones and Evelyn Hugo. It definitely wasn't as good as those books, so I do see why some people have been saying that they're disappointed with it. I do kind of wish it was at that level as well, but it was still very good. I still feel like I read it very quickly. It did make me cry, which books have not really been making me cry lately. It's really a family drama, which I feel like I, going into the book, thought it was mostly going to be surrounding like the party stuff, but it really at the end of the day has more to do with the family relationships between siblings, between a parent and child, and has to do with like familial trauma and how that can kind of like get passed down through generations. So there's a lot of like deep, sad things, I guess, in this book, but also I guess kind of heartwarming as well at times. But yeah, the party was a little bit disappointing to me. I just found that it felt like it was slow at points. It felt like it was getting dragged out. We were getting point of views from a bunch of random characters. And I don't know, you think that would be fun, but like sometimes I was just kind of over it, like not really invested in any of these other characters. So I didn't overly care reading about their points of view. And then certain things with the party just like stressed me out, like when the police come. But yeah, it ended on like a nice note, I guess, but 4 stars, that's what we're gonna give it. I also read a little bit more of Pumpkin, but I'm not loving that book. I feel like it's just too YA for me now. It's too young. It's written for more of like a younger YA audience, and that's just like not me. But I've read the other 2 books in the series, so I want to like continue and finish this and hear about Wayland's story and everything, but I'm not loving it. But what else can I say about Pumpkin? He did have, I feel like this happens a lot in gay character storylines, that he had this little boyfriend, almost this guy that he would like hook up with or make out with, and then that guy decided he was gonna come out and be with a different guy. Like he didn't want to come out and be with Wayland, he wanted to be with someone else. So he dealt with that rejection. He also feels like his sister is keeping some secrets from him, his twin sister. He made this little fun drag audition video for that drag show that he loves. His sister is showing it to people, and he's like, what the heck? Like, this was like a private thing I did. He wasn't even gonna submit the tape for the show, and she's like showing people, and now people in the school like know about his video. And I'm kind of annoyed with his sister. Like, that's his private like video of him like dressing up and doing this whole drag persona, and if he's not choosing to like share that with people, like you should not be sharing that. So and so I think this is what's going to lead people to like make fun of him and nominate him for the prom queen or whatever as a joke that I mentioned from the synopsis. So as you can see, I'm still very at the beginning of the book still. But I took today off from work today, which is really nice. We are going to the movies for the first time in over a year because they are finally opened up again in Toronto as of today. So we booked tickets to see Black Widow. So maybe I can let you know what I think about that after. And we're going to do a bit of shopping and then hopefully spend the rest of the day by our pool here at the apartment. Hopefully I can do some reading while we're there. So update, I finished Pumpkin and started Better Together. Let's discuss it. So first of all, Pumpkin. I ended up giving it a 3-star. I thought it was cute. It had fun, nice moments, just not really for me anymore. Like as I already said, it kind of was for a younger audience and it just wasn't anything super special or stand out. Some of the pop culture references in this book were sort of cringy to me and sort of outdated. I don't know, is it sad that I consider Game of Thrones to be like outdated now? I don't know. I did quite like Waylon, our main character, though. I thought it was pretty funny when he would talk about like holding grudges towards people and like remembering exactly what they did to him and like when, and I just found that kind of relatable. And it kind of had like a cliche sort of happy, nice ending as you would imagine this book would. Then we have Better Together, and this book is really something. Instantly I started reading it and I did find the writing to be pretty cringy. Now if you guys don't know, Christine is a booktuber and not exactly like a trained writer. I don't know, I feel like you can sort of tell, but like no hate to her or anything. I just feel like it's a little bit more of a rookie writing style. It also feels a little bit immature. Like the first chapter, it's gotten a lot better than when I first started it. I'm on to part 2 now, but the first chapter I was like, wow, this character is really unlikable, really immature. Even though she's going through a hard time, I'm just like, this seems too dramatic. But then our other main character is really likable. So anyways, what we're seeing in the book so far is, first of all, Siri, and she lives in New York with her mom. Her mom is like a famous ballet dancer and she wants to follow in her footsteps, but she has had this back injury where she no longer is able to dance, so she has to figure out like a new plan for her life, and that is why she goes to this retreat. Then we have Jamie, and she lives in Hollywood with her dad, and she is trying to be a stand-up comedian. So when we first see her, we're seeing her do this little set that she has, and I feel like that part was another sort of cringy part, like seeing her try to like be funny and doing stand-up comedy. But I also feel like that's a hard thing to do. Like if you're not a comedian, I feel like that would be hard to write about that. And I like that it is a unique career path that she's going towards. Like I've never read a book about someone trying to be a comedian, so I think that's cool, but it can be a little bit cringy because I'm like, are these jokes really that funny, you know? So she was doing this one set and she like really messed up. She forgot what she was supposed to say and she threw up on the audience. So she's also going through a hard time rethinking things, and so that's why she ends up going to this retreat as well. And then the two girls meet there, and now we're sort of going through the story of them like reconnecting, and they haven't switched lives yet, but that I think is going to come into play soon. This is like a pretty long book, like for considering it's a YA contemporary, like it's very long or like tall, and the pages feel very thin, and it's over 400 pages. I don't know, it's just like a little bit longer than I think like a YA contemporary like this should be. Another thing, there's just like these last two books, I guess because they're YA, but there's just so many like cringy elements to me. Like our one character is very, I guess, innocent, and she literally says, and I quote, "Are you intercoursing kidding me?" Like instead of saying the F word, she says intercourse. It's almost like I find it relatable because I don't swear that much, and I used to swear even less. Like I almost feel like that's something I would say, but also that's like so cringy too. And at least it gets called out. Like she gets called out for saying that, but I just had to cringe. And then I guess I didn't get the rights to include it, but like instead of Tinder, they call it Tunder. I don't really like that. And they call it Hunge instead of Hinge. I don't know. There's just kind of weird things like that that I don't love. And yeah, just the pop culture references, it's always included in teen books. It's always included in YA, and I just wish that they didn't because I never really like it. But there's definitely less in this one than her first book. That was something she got critiqued on a lot, was including too many of those references. So there's definitely less. But yeah, basically their parents are awful. Like, I'm just gonna do a minor spoiler right now and say that the one girl, like her mom, convinced her that her sister was her imaginary friend. So when she bumps into her, she is like having a mental breakdown because she's been in therapy for years, being convinced that her sister that she remembers from childhood was just an imaginary friend and didn't exist. Like that is abuse. That is like emotional abuse. So yeah, it's crazy, it's unrealistic, but I'm enjoying it more than I was at the beginning, and I am interested in where it's going, but I'll keep you updated on if there's anything else that's super cringy or funny. feel after biking?
It's hell.
All right, so I finished Better Together by Christine Riggio. And I gave it a 3-star on Goodreads. I probably could have given it lower, but I just feel too bad to give it any lower. And I do have to say it was pretty entertaining. So we're gonna just stick with a 3 for now. There definitely continue to be more cringy things throughout. Like, just an example, Jamie's love interest, Zarar, had this weird thing where he would purposely try and create a meet cute situation with girls. So he would purposely like fall over or like drop things in front of them to create that like meet cute moment where people like drop things and have to pick them up like in movies. And I don't know, is that cute? Is that quirky? Or is that cringy? Like, there's a very fine line, and I just feel like a lot of things would fall into like the cringy category. Just like the swearing thing I talked about last time. How for Siri, she always says like the technical word instead of the swear word. So she'll say excrement instead of shit. Even me, I'm not trying not to swear in this, but it was just weird. It's like the point of swear words is that you say something that's like short and like impactful, and that's why some people replace swear words with like sugar or like frick. But like it takes away the point to be like intercourse or excrement. I just can't get past that. Another thing I couldn't get past, speaking of, was how evil the mother was. I talked about this before, how she brainwashed her daughter to forget about her other daughter and literally had her in therapy to forget about a real person. Like, that's gaslighting, and that is just so evil that it was really hard for me to get past that and believe that the girls were forgiving her. It was just too much. And then I also didn't really like the magic element in this book. Christine keeps writing these contemporary books that have a bit of magic in them. Like, this has a Freaky Friday trope, but it was just really weird how it was done because the two girls, they don't look alike, right? Well, their face does, but not their hair and stuff. So they decide to dye their hair, cut their hair to look like the other one. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. But then a magical element did come into it, and it actually did make them switch bodies or look like the other one. But I'm like, they just dyed and cut their hair to look like each other. You could have just went with that. Like, why are you now adding in that they suddenly are the other sister? It just seemed pointless to me, and it just seemed very weird. And then my last complaint is that I think it was too long, which I mentioned before. The wrap up at the end just like kept going on and on. But there were cute moments in it. I do think both of the love interests or the two romances were cute, and I liked the sister stuff as well. So let's move on from this one. I also forgot to mention the Swords team, which is the team that I'm on, is actually in the lead right now. Halfway through this readathon, which was a few days ago, they posted the points and Swords team is in the lead. So go us. Then, as you guys saw, I started reading One to Watch on my e-reader here. I knew going into this that this had mixed reviews, and I definitely see why. So we're following B, and she is a plus-size fashion blogger and influencer. That is pretty much her main career now. She's got pretty successful with that, and she goes on this drunken tirade about the Main Squeeze television show, which is like The Bachelorette, about how they have no diversity. It just blows up, and then the producer ends up asking her to be the next Main Squeeze to sort of show that plus-size girls that look like her can find love, can be desirable, that whole like message. Meanwhile, she is still getting over a broken heart. She loved this guy Ray, who broke her heart, like cheated on his girlfriend with her, but then stayed with his girlfriend. So she's going through that. Instantly, I was put off by the writing. I feel bad because I suggested this be the book club book for my personal book club. So my one friend is reading it, and she texted me, this feels like a middle schooler wrote this, and I feel really bad. It's kind of funny because there's a lot of like mixed media in the book, so like tweets or text messages and stuff like that, which goes with the whole social influencer thing. But normally authors will like try and be too texty, like they'll put just a you instead of writing you, and they'll just do all these like really cringy texting things that like no one actually uses. But I find the opposite in this. I find that the author is making their texting be like way too long, that like no one would write that, and like putting brackets in it and putting quotation marks in it. And like, I personally would not text out all those things and like text such long messages. Anyway, just the thing that was bothering me. I also wish that B was not an influencer, because she's supposed to be that like relatable everyday girl, but I'm like, I can't relate to being an influencer. Like, it would just be better to me if she wasn't also already like a famous fashion blogger. And then kind of just like The Bachelorette itself, I feel like it's gonna be a little bit of a predictable book. Like, her guy Ray that broke her heart, I'm assuming will show up on the main squeeze show. Just like in The Bachelorette, it's something that that show would pull, so I assume that's going to happen and be some drama. But yeah, I'm not really loving this book so far, but I kind of knew going into it it wouldn't be the best, but I just wanted to see how they did the whole premise with the game show element. So yeah, I'm really just at the beginning, 26%, so we'll see where it goes. But that is the current book update. This is my second last book of the readathon. Hopefully I can finish all the books I want by the end of the week. So I thought I'd film an update outside for a little change. I don't know, maybe there's too much background noise. But I finished One to Watch and I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. You guys saw it was kind of like a rough start for me. A lot of things were cringy and I wasn't loving it, but I will have to say that it did get better. So once she starts actually being on the show, they start filming, she starts meeting the guys, it got interesting. But the guys were like so mean to her sometimes, it was crazy. Or like they would insert like comments or articles that were like really being rude to her for being like for her weight. And a lot of the guys seemed like they were disappointed by her being there because of how she looked and all that. And I felt bad for her, but it definitely got better as she went on more dates and actually connected with nice guys. And then I just feel like overall the book got better. But I will say that I think the message that the author was trying to make about accepting people no matter their weight or their looks or whatever, I feel like that message was just shoved down your throat a little bit too much. I feel like that's just what's talked about constantly. It was like one of the only parts of B's personality was her weight, and like it was just such a big focus that I feel like it could have been a little more subtle and you still could have had the same message come across and not be like mentioned every second. So that was another one of the flaws. And then I do think it got to be like a little bit repetitive with all the dates and stuff, just like how I feel about the normal Bachelorette show. One of the reasons I stopped watching it is it was just the same thing over and over. But yeah, overall still cute, still enjoyed the romance, like the main couple, and I think I still kind of would recommend the book if you like the idea of it. Then I started One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston, as you saw. I went into it honestly feeling kind of scared because I was thinking about those reviews that said they were disappointed, but honestly I'm over 100 pages in now and I'm quite liking it. I think it did take me a little bit to get into because we were just thrown into learning about multiple characters because August is 23, she's still in college and she moves to New York. She like transfers colleges to New York and moves in with these roommates. So we were kind of learning about her different roommates and she kind of like doesn't know what she's doing with her life. She had sort of a traumatic childhood, which has been interesting to learn about, where her uncle like went missing like before she was born. So her whole life her mom has just been obsessed with trying to find her brother, which is August's uncle. Because of that, she was raised basically like a child detective, like always trying to help her mom find these clues and leads to try and find out where her uncle is, and like he's still missing. And she just had to get away from her mother because like she can't have that be her whole life anymore. So she's trying to figure out who she is, but she like has very like good detective skills, which is kind of fun because I love reading about those characters like Pip from A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, or just other characters that are like into true crime. I always like that, which I was not expecting from this book, to have a character like that. So then anyway, on the train she keeps seeing this girl Jane that you see there. The girl is just for some reason on her train every single day, always on the same car as her. So August starts to get suspicious of things. It's kind of funny, she starts to think this girl is like a vampire because she sees a photo from like 1976 and Jane looks the same. So it's kind of funny. It's like, is she a vampire? Is she a ghost? Trying to figure out what's going on with Jane. And she's just confronting Jane now. But as we know from reading the description, we know that she's like displaced from time. Anyways, I think it's cute so far. I am liking the side characters as well now that we are getting to know them more, and the romance is cute, but it was seeming a little bit insta love for a second there. Like August immediately is like obsessed with Jane and thinks she's so hot. I don't love the insta love, insta attraction, but whatever, that's fine. But yeah, final book of the Tarot Readathon, and it's Friday evening. The last time that you can submit points is midnight tomorrow. So I have like tonight and then tomorrow night, because I do have some plans tomorrow, so I'm not sure how much I'll get to read, so hopefully I can finish it in the nick of time. We'll see. I think Swords is still in the lead though, so I think we'll still win no matter what. That's where I'm at. Hello, so the Tarot Readathon is officially over. I did not finish One Last Stop in time to submit it for points. I was just out of the house like all day yesterday and I just could not finish it, but I finished it today. The results are not out yet for who won the readathon, like which team, but I'm thinking it's probably going to be Swords just because we were in the lead the whole time. I ended up giving this 4 stars. I think it was pretty good. I see why people could have been disappointed because I don't think it was as good as Red, White, and Royal Blue, but it was still a really cute book. I liked a lot of aspects of it. I liked all of the different characters. I liked seeing so many different queer characters and that sort of found family dynamic between all of them. I liked August, our main character, as well, and I liked that sort of hint of mystery around like what happened to August's uncle and why is Jane stuck on this train, that sort of thing. However, I did feel like at points that this book dragged on a little bit, or like there was this other focus on saving this diner that August worked at, and I felt like, okay, we already have this major problem with Jane stuck on the train, like why do we need another like problem? Like I feel like that could have been a whole other story. They did end up sort of connecting, but like I don't know, it just wasn't like the perfect book for me. Also, I think I mentioned already, the romance was a little bit insta-love for me as well, or it was like just very heavily rooted in like physical attraction. Those just aren't my favorite types of romances. I still liked them, but yeah, it just wasn't the perfect book for me, but it still was really, really good. It did actually bring tears to my eyes, which not many books have been doing, but there was something about the ending that I just wish was different. I prefer more of like a bittersweet ending than like a picture perfect happy one. So that's just me, but like I wish the ending could have been different, and it potentially could have made it into a 5-star if that was different. So that's the end of this readathon. I feel pretty good. I got through quite a few new releases I wanted to get to. Obviously, we know Better Together was my least favorite book, unfortunately, but it was still pretty entertaining, but could have been better, as we know. Then I would say it was probably Pumpkin, which I also gave 3 stars, which was still very cute and highly recommend if you're like a younger teen or if you think you would relate to Waylon. But yeah, and then it would be One to Watch, which I don't have physically, which was 3.5 stars. Again, had some flaws in that book, but still was entertaining. And then we have the 2 books that got 4 stars for me, and both elicited quite a bit of emotion and actually brought tears to my eyes for both of them. This one has to do more with family and the entertainment industry, and this one has to do with queer issues and like romance and found family and stuff. I don't know which one I like better. Probably Malibu Rising, and then One Last Stop. So that's the end of this readathon. Thank you guys for watching. I love picking books based on tarot cards. It's something I did on my channel even before this readathon, and something I will continue to do. So if you like the mixture of those 2 things, books and tarot cards, be sure to subscribe, and then be sure to like and comment as well. Until next time, I hope you have a great day, a great summer, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!